Is this real? Hey, Greg, come look at this. Oh my, it's happening. Mr. Daniels, the numbers keep getting bigger and bigger.
Sir, the clicks are off the charts.
Hello, sales? What's the emergency? 9,000 clicks in one day? 3,000 order? So how much we have left? What? I soon call you back. Mr. Nakamoto, it's Danny from Jamaica. I need 5,000 of the big ones. We're back in business.
Yes, sir. Arigato. Suene. Amplify your brand. Let Nationwide 90 FM assist you in tapping into a captivated audience across our social media platforms. For more information, contact us at 876-630-1210 or sales@nationwidenewsnetwork.com. Businesses, companies, and entrepreneurs, let's supercharge your brand.
Unique Living's new arrivals are here. Revamp your space with sleek, fixed and sliding show panels, shower systems and faucets, stylish vanities, basins and kitchen sinks, closet and storage solutions, hanging aids and more. Available in different finishes and sizes to match your style. Visit them today and transform your space at shop number 630 Dunrobin Avenue, Kingston 10. Call 876-755-3661 or visit their website at uniquelivingja.com to shop.
Champion. Our mission is love. Our vision is love. Jamaicans for justice. The people's champion. Justice, justice for all. Justice under the law. Justice, Jamaica demand. Right to life, right to liberty. Justice, justice for all. Justice under the law.
It's a beautiful, beautiful Monday afternoon. My name is Mikkel Jackson, Executive Director of JFJ.
And I'm Jade Williams, the Policy and Advocacy Specialist at JFJ.
So, we want to just continue to thank our listeners and those who are joining us via YouTube for staying with the JFJ Let's Start Justice program. I was thinking of several trivia questions that I could ask because the listeners may not be aware. But JFJ was legally registered on October 15, 1999, right? So
Yes.
I just wanted to start the program, Jade and I, in giving a little bit of a background history because JFJ, we're actually celebrating 25 years legacy of justice. We're quite proud to be a part of this organization. And if our names can, be in the little footnote of JFJ's history, then we're certainly honored. So remember now in 1999, then Prime Minister P.J. Patterson increased gas tax at the time by some 31%. And for those who are not aware, JFJ started out of the 1999 gas riots. So following the gas riots in 1999, I'm trying to remember my JFJ history because we should all know this. Following the gas riots of 1999, the founding members at the time, they gathered at a community center. The police and the soldiers swooped down and there was some intimidation. And then following that meeting at the community center, the founding members at the time met at Stella Maris. And that is how JFJ actually started. But we were legally registered on October 15, 1999, a registered organization at the time. So, I'm thinking of two trivia questions as we're speaking. So, I love to give away the credit, love to give it away. So I'm thinking of two trivia questions. But I will have Jay just give you a did you know on the first case that JFJ represented some clients on, and that matter was represented by attorney Denise Daly.
Yes, so that was what we call the 52 men case for short. But it was the roundup of 52 men in Grantspen. It was mid-morning, July 29th, 1999. 28th, my bad. And they were rounded up, detained, illegally fingerprinted, and of course, having developed a little community reputation at that time, persons would have reached out to JFJ for assistance. So it was originally supposed to be a normal military operation that ended up with persons having their rights violated throughout. Now, 13 men would have given their case to JFJ to handle. And after 3 years in court, we would have come out having affirmed their rights that they were violated in this process. And the government would have admitted to that, and they were awarded their damages. So that was our first case.
Yes, represented again by Dennis Daly. So we, as with several aspects of our history, the goodwill of attorneys help JFJ, right? So the trivia question related to our 25th anniversary, keep in mind that Jade has her usual trivia questions, but the trivia question related to our 25th anniversary, JFJ is celebrating 25 years legacy of justice. What is the second case that JFJ represented, and what is the main outcome, impact of that particular case? That's a $2,000 question, do you see?
Wow.
I hope I have enough credit at the office, me there give her like crazy, Right, that's a $2,000 question there. What is the second case represented by Jamaicans for Justice? And Vanessa writing it down because they know me walk and promise and I remember what was asked. So the second case represented by JFG and the main outcome. I have another giveaway. That's $1,000 now. We have the rebranded Let's Start Justice Radio program, but it's not the first time we're doing a radio program. So I think I'll give another $2,000 away. I may have to take this one out of my pocket. But anyway, what is the name of our radio show back in the day, and which radio station was it aired on? That's proper English?
It's all right. It's possible.
It's okay. It's possible, so Westwood won't be ashamed of me. So the name of our radio station back in the day, and where was it aired?
The radio show and the station that it was aired. Yes.
Thank you so much. All right.
All right. So we do have, of course, our routine. Did you know? And our routine trivia question. So we're gonna talk about
That
those
one
now.
a little bit though. That's $1,000.
Yes, it is $1,000.
Okay.
It is a regular $1,000 question, right? All right. So for our right of the day today, we are focused again on the Constitution, and we are looking at what we call our right to privacy, which is our right to protection from search of person and property, or right to respect for the protection of private and family life and the privacy of the home, and the right to protection of privacy of other property and communication. And it's a little bit topical for what we're going to be talking about for the show, but we'll connect that when we get into the topic. Now, for our trivia question for today, we have what legislation, which is not yet in force, addresses HIV discrimination in the workplace? It's a complicated one, but it's still only $1,000. You're having a lot of trivia today.
Let me see if I can give a little hint for that one.
Yeah.
It falls under the ministry of Pernell Charles Jr. And he made a promise the other day that the legislation will be brought to
That's a big
cabinet.
hint. That's a big hint.
Because people are not going to get it otherwise. So I give in a little bit of a support there. The legislation is being driven by Minister of Labour, Pernell Charles Jr.
Yeah.
All right?
All right.
So we've been laughing because it's a festive moment, celebrating our history, of course. But we're going to get into one of the thematic focus of JFJ that it angers you.
Yeah.
The injustice that people go through. It angers you, the discrimination that people endure because of lack of awareness, that sometimes as citizens we are not the most gracious to people. And we're going to be discussing with a guest, and we will call her Pam, to protect her privacy. We're going to be discussing the issue of unauthorized disclosure of HIV status. And people may not be aware, but people living with HIV, it has no face. And I believe the last time I did a check, some 30,000 Jamaicans, are living with HIV in the country. So when we disclose people's status without their permission, it can have devastating effects on their lives. And in 2024 alone, JFJ, we supported over 90 cases of unauthorized disclosure of HIV status. And that is different from the cases that we support where we disclose people's sexual orientation without their permission. And the majority of these cases that we support, they occur, shockingly, disappointingly, within the community settings, by neighbors, family members, your current and your ex-partner share your business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is one of the issues that we've also seen compounded with another thematic area, unfortunately, and that is the domestic violence. And we've seen those cases where the disclosure, threat of disclosure of someone's HIV status is used to coerce a victim of domestic violence to continue to be compliant in the things that the abuser would want. Now, as Mikhail said, we've seen that the quality of life of persons have been affected by this kind of action. And we're going to speak to Pam for her to give us a little bit about her experience, what assistance she was able to receive, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the framework that is available to assist and what more can be done.
So, Pam, thank you so much for joining us. And at any point in time, you need to take a break, or if there's a question that makes you uncomfortable, please let us know. All right? Pam, you're there? We have lost her?
Oh, it seems as though her call has been dropped a little. Okay. So I think they're trying to get her back online.
Yeah. But Jade, there was a case I remember, as you made mention of how people are affected. Pam, you're here with us now?
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. My name
Good
is
afternoon.
Mikkel, and I'm here with the Jade. So thanks again. As I was saying, if there are any question that we put to you that you're uncomfortable or need a few seconds to, regain composure, let us know. All right?
Okay, miss.
So for our listeners, Pam, can you share how long you've been living with HIV? How long ago were you diagnosed?
2017.
2017.
Yes.
And you've willingly shared your status with family members or anybody else?
Yes.
Okay. But I know there are circumstances wherein we're getting a little background noise. Yeah. You're with us again? Okay. Yeah, so while we give Pam a second, there was some noise in the background there. I was saying, Jade, that I recall a situation. Oh, Pam is with us again. All right. Pam, yes. So just walk us through perhaps the first incident you experienced where your HIV status was disclosed without your permission.
All right, miss. One time I did take sick. I'm going to the hospital. Me and my same sister, she went follow me and my mother. And she went there when the doctor said it, and then she come up and start spreading.
The sister or the
Yeah.
doctor? The sister?
My sister. Yeah, my sister.
Oh, so she was at the hospital with you
Yes, she did come with me.
when you were first diagnosed, that is?
Yes, miss.
In what circumstances did she start spreading it around? Who did she tell?
Yeah, she tell one man and one man. She tell one man if I'm me and him there. So the man said, no, I just my friend. Be careful of the girl because the girl have HIV.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
You're still in communication with that sister?
No.
No.
Not talk to me.
That was the only experience you've had?
Yeah.
Okay. As a result of what your sister did, what were some of the impact? What happened after? How people treat you? What happened?
They treat me bad. They take it cost me.
The community, your neighbors, or within the
Yeah,
family?
the community there.
All right, Pam, just stay with us for a few more minutes. We have to take the break now. All right?
Okay.
Thanks.
Unique Living's new arrivals are here. Revamp your space with sleek, fixed and sliding show panels, shower systems, faucets, stylish vanities, basins and kitchen sinks, closet and storage solutions, hanging aids and more. Available in different finishes and sizes to match your style. Visit them today and transform your space at shop number 630 Dunrobin Avenue, Kingston 10. Call 876-755-3661 or visit their website at uniquelivingja.com to shop.
The 22nd staging of the Port Royal Seafood Festival is going to be epic on Sunday, October 20, from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Holiday Snacks Play Zone, Excelsior Bingo, boat tour and seafood galore, evening turn up with Niger Boy, Capleton and the Sales and more. Big thanks, Tropical Rhythms, TEV, Hartwas NSTA, Airports Authority of Jamaica, New Pack, Aspen and Swift Car Rentals, Gasper and Singer, Home Time Entertainment, tickets on Spur Open or at the gate, $2,000 before 5 p.m., $2,500 after. Children under 12 free. See you at Port Royal.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Justice. We have been discussing unauthorized disclosure of HIV status, and we are joined with Pam, who is one of those persons who have experienced this unfortunate occurrence, and we've been asking her a little bit about her experience in that. So Pam, before the break, you were telling us about how this would have affected your life overall. Can you give us an idea of how it would have affected you?
Yes, because me did a work and my sister would tell me boss and make me lose my work. So it makes some time I fret because I'm a work help me so my son go to school and pay the bills. And now right now I'm not working. Things going bad. Sometimes I can't even find food to eat.
So, when your boss terminated you, Pam, did he or she indicate what was the reason for the termination?
Yes, my boss tell me, so my sister tells me I have HIV. If I can't keep me anymore.
What year was this?
And this year, September.
This year?
Yes, September.
So, when was the first time she disclosed it to the gentleman?
In September, he said, but I remember the date.
Okay, so both...
And when we go to work in the morning, my boss tell me and say, he can't keep me anymore. And I come back home.
But the first time she disclosed it, so the boss was September. But the first time she disclosed it, they said she tell somebody.
Yes, in 2017.
It was the same year that you were diagnosed. Yes. So in other words, she still continued to tell people?
Yes. I've seen a last week one man can't tell me again, saying to me have it.
So I know you don't speak to each other.
Yeah.
But nobody intervened within the family and explained to her that not right?
No.
So the family members as well, your family members, how are they treating you?
Yeah, my mother treat me good.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. I know you came to JFJ, Pam, for some support.
Yeah.
What was the support that you received?
Me not hear me.
I know you came to JFJ, Jamaicans for Justice, for some support. What was
Yeah.
the support that you received from the organization?
They did call me and tell me so they won't go on her.
Okay.
Okay.
So a warning letter
Yes.
Yeah.
was issued to her. And when was that warning letter issued?
Me not
You're
remember.
not
You know.
remembering.
If I
No, me
recall
never
correctly, it was about a year ago.
A year ago.
Yes.
I think I hear ago.
And she still continue.
Yes, it still continue. Every time she call up to my mother, she take it a custody and be not trouble her.
What
Yeah,
support?
they-
Yes. Finish your
They
thought.
come from what my mother has said in my house.
Mm-hmm. How is it affecting you outside of the job? And I know you said sometimes life difficult where, even getting food to eat and so on, hardship has been placed on you. How are you
Yeah,
coping mentally?
Well, sometimes my mother give me like a food.
Your mommy give you food sometimes.
Yeah.
You get counseling as well, Pam?
Yeah. Yeah, me get counseling.
What would you say to others who have gone through what you have gone through? What would you say to them based on your experience?
Not giving up.
Not giving up.
No.
Yes. And I know the team here, they've been trying to support.
Yeah.
But sometimes based on the laws and so on, our hands are tied.
Yes.
So we have ministers and so who listen to the radio show here. What would you say to them so that you can get better support? What would be your ask to a minister?
I would love to. I'd love to get a shop, me son. I can't worry by myself.
Get a shop.
Yeah.
Jade?
I think if I had one more thing to say, Pam, I would say thank you for sharing with us.
Yes, sir.
We appreciate you coming on the show, telling us about your experience.
Yes, sir.
And we will reach out because given that the sister continues, we have to see what follow-up
further we can do, yeah.
we need to do.
Yes.
So we will reach out to you by tomorrow, Pam, and we speak some more.
All right, miss.
All right. We really appreciate you sharing.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Have a good day.
All right. Same to you.
You know, Michael, the first thing that jumped out at me, maybe it's the lawyer brain, but, we sent this cease and desist letter, and it is essentially useless in a framework where there is no further legislative support to be had.
Unless, the civil route is there. But you see, when we tear down people, even to find the strength to pursue a civil matter, I wonder if people understand what it takes to go to court to try to get justice as how you see it.
Yeah.
And we work in the HIV setting, and this is very emotional for me personally because, I've been working within the HIV setting before JFJ. And I've seen wherein, for example, a child's parent status is disclosed to the child at school by an adult cursing out a child. That is the type of society that we live in, wherein we lack grace. We lack grace, empathy. Because here it is that an employer terminates someone's contract on the basis of their HIV status. And let me explain to people. HIV can be transmitted in very limited circumstances. Very limited circumstance. You can't sit beside somebody and contract HIV. Even if you kiss somebody in a very passionate way, it won't happen.
Yeah.
There has to be cuts and so on in the mouth. And then that is what you call low possibility of transmission. So it would happen during childbirth. If you have unprotected sex with someone, then the possibility is there. And let me be very clear. When people living with HIV take their medication, and they take it on time every day, they become what you call virally suppressed. And if you're virally suppressed, the possibility of transmitting HIV is basically impossible.
Yeah.
So we need to be aware of how the virus works. Far too often, for example, we hear complaints that people get terminated in the food industry.
Yes, because as she was speaking, I was like, this sounds like a familiar story. I remember being a legal officer in the HIV sector and receiving complaints of persons who have been long time employees of a restaurant, for example, as a chef, as a cook there. And there was routine testing done for insurance and so on. And somehow in that chain, this person's HIV status was disclosed to their employer prior to them receiving the information. And they were informed by being told, do not come back to work.
And those people should be sued.
Yeah.
Because, you know, even if you're exposed to the blood, let me be very clear. If it is that, for example, you cut your hand and you're living with the virus dies, you know,
Yes.
within a matter of seconds.
Yes.
So again, the risk of exposure is non-existent there.
The blood would have to fly into your eye
Or
or something of
and
that nature.
But you know, I think we need to look again at empathy. I mean, the HIV sector, Jamaica Network of Seropositives, Jamaica AIDS Support for Life, Jamaica Community of Positive Women.
Yes.
These organizations have been doing tremendous work in educating the people. Ashe Company, Children First Agency. Get yourself tested, but get informed, because information is the only way we can do better and reduce stigma. The other thing I want us to consider, and you started it, Jade, that I was saying I remember a case wherein the lady was being beaten by her male partner.
Yes.
And this man didn't want her to move on with her life, because she finally get the courage now to step out of that relationship and say, abuse no more. And this gentleman went into the lady's WhatsApp and took a picture of her antiretroviral medication and sent it to every single man in her WhatsApp because he thought she moved on with somebody else. We've had situations wherein the person don't want to pay child maintenance, so they threaten the individual to say, if you carry me to court, I'm going to tell people that you're living with HIV.
Yeah.
That's the type of callousness that we're seeing in society, you know. So for those who are listening, it starts with us. Educate someone. Tell somebody that's not right. I think that's where it starts. The information to know how HIV is transmitted. But even if you don't know how it is transmitted and there is some fear that you have, we have to look within how we treat others.
Yeah.
I think that empathy.
I just wanted to address, I see a comment in the YouTube chat asking if there are anti-discriminatory employment laws How can she be sacked for this? Well, the law that would help is not in place. That's our trivia question for today, so I can't tell you what the answer is until the end of the show. But it has been passed for quite some time and is not in place as yet. So, you know, and we also have to look
We
at...
have to take the break. So hold that thought,
Yes.
Jay. Let's take the break.
At the Jamaica Customs Agency, we care for our employees, customers, stakeholders, citizens, and our country. Customs cares. The temperature by the Jamaica Customs Agency is
35 degrees Celsius in Kingston and 31 out west in Montego Bay.
Are you ready to turn your sales and marketing skills into high earnings? Nationwide 90 FM is searching for business development executives to build lasting client relationships. If you have experience across all stages of the sales cycle and possess strong communication, negotiation, and time management skills with a proven sales track record, this opportunity is perfect for you. Join our team and work with the top corporate brands, media agencies, and of course, our on-air personalities. Enjoy networking opportunities, professional growth, and competitive commissions. Ready to take the next step? Send your resume to hr@nationwidenewsnetwork.com today.
Welcome back to Let's Start Justice. We have been discussing unauthorized disclosure of HIV status. And I just wanted to finish a thought I had before the break, Mikkel,
Yes.
on the legislative framework that we, or the lack thereof of legislative framework that we have. One of the challenges that we've also seen is that when we look at our anti-discrimination provision in the Constitution, we do not have protection from discrimination on the basis of health status as one of our provisions in our Constitution. So we don't have that constitutional protection, and then the legislation, can't tell you the name, it's not a policy, guys. So for those who are answering in the chat, for the trivia question, it's not a policy. So think law, but it is a law that was passed but not implemented, and we are still there now with that law not implemented. So at this point, in terms of protections, unless it is that we're talking about a medical setting wherein there might be different legislative obligations.
Well,
For
institutional,
right?
generally.
Like your family and your community seem to have limited repercussion for this kind of action.
So to clarify, we've had situations, or to add to, not clarify, to add to what Jade is saying, we've had situations wherein healthcare workers have disclosed someone's status. Healthcare workers have said to women living with HIV, are you sure you want to have a child?
Yes.
Why you don't tie off? And
it's coercion.
And there is that coercion to sterilize, So in that situation, the government of Jamaica, through the Ministry of Health, has what you call the client complaint mechanism. And we've utilized that system before. And when there is that type of coercion, there are disciplinary actions that the Ministry of Health takes. But again, is that enough for people? Especially when those disciplinary actions don't necessarily lead to termination or some other sanctions. We've had situations where, like a pharmacist, you come to the pharmacy to fill your prescription, get your ARVs, and then the pharmacy knows somebody in your community and disclose your status.
Yes.
The Data Protection Act would help in that situation because you're talking about privacy rights. And that is why that Data Protection Act, though the genesis of it wasn't intended to protect privacy because it was an e-commerce law under the Economic Partnership Agreement that we have with the EU, but still it's a pivotal and critical legislation. When the disclosure happens within the police settings, then you have the diversity policy of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, and we have to again congratulate the JCF in that respect. So, but there are gaps.
Yeah.
Because again, you're seeing the gaps in the cease and desist letters and what is being done. I wasn't very clear before in how HIV was transmitted. So it's transmitted by 4 bodily fluids: blood, and I've explained, for example, if you go to the nail tech and you're doing your nails and there is a cut, the possibility of transmission is very low in that respect because the virus would have been exposed to the air. If you're in a food setting and blood, that's a different possibility for infection and so on. But because, again, it's exposed to the air, then there is no transmission taking place. So blood is one, breast milk is another, third is semen, and fourth, vaginal fluid. And that is why we say wrap it up when you're having sex. Yes?
Absolutely.
So those are the 4 bodily fluids that HIV, how HIV can be transmitted. So it's important that we are aware of these things. So it's not going to be by spitting if somebody spit at you. It's not going to be when you touch somebody. I've worked in the HIV sector. We eat from each other all the time. You may or may not know somebody's status.
Exactly.
So, it's not transmitted in those ways. So let's ensure that information allows us to, again, be aware. But even if you don't know, it goes back to the point. Show a little empathy, courtesy, and grace to people. Because we've seen where in Pam's situation, the actions of her sister, it's unfortunate.
Absolutely. And if the listeners want to get a better idea of this, they can look at our February Justice Matters that was on Unauthorized Disclosure.
So you can go on social media and you'll see the link tree.
Yes.
Yeah?
So it's listed in our link tree.
All right, so move on to another matter, Jade. Or before we move on, I just want to say that we're celebrating Domestic Violence Month. It's sad to use the word celebrating.
Yes.
But we are
Observing
Domestic Violence Month. And I heard from ACP Charmaine Shand of the Community Safety and Security Branch, and also from Jacqueline Dillon of the Domestic Violence Intervention Center, that more citizens are reporting incidents of domestic violence. The police is getting better. They still have a far way to go, but they're getting better in how they respond generally. And through the leadership of Jacqueline Dillon and Charmaine Shand, we've seen significant improvement there. And they also indicated that more men are reporting.
Yeah.
And that is something we have to laud and encourage, that, if you experience an incident of domestic violence, make a report. To our men, we know the culture that we operate in, but it's also important that you don't feel shame, because far too many of our men are suffering in silence because of this heteronormative society that we operate in. And the last thing I would say is that if it is that you experience domestic violence, Jamaicans for Justice, we provide legal support where we can help you to get an occupation order. We can help you to get a protection order. If a child is involved, we can help you to get orders around child maintenance, spousal maintenance.
And custody as well.
Custody. And in limited circumstances, based on resources, we can either help you with a divorce proceedings if it is that you're a victim of domestic violence. Let me be very clear there. Or we can refer you to an attorney who is better equipped to provide some assistance.
Yes. Keeping in mind our services are free. Michael didn't mention that, but I thought I would.
All right.
Yes, so we do have another topic to discuss. And there was a recent matter that was in the news regarding some mentally ill inmates that were seeking orders on how they should be handled going forward. That was, I think it was 4 out of the 16 that the legal aid clinic has been handling over the past few years.
6 of 14.
6 of 14, thank you. And what we would have seen is that the court was unable to allow for these persons to be released. And we're going to talk about a few key points that came out through the judgment. But essentially, the court would have found that there was no fit place for these persons to go, acknowledging...
Who these persons are, sorry?
These persons are the 6 mentally ill inmates who have been being held at
Under the
Governor General's pleasure. Yes, and this would have been 2 years of adjournments that these 6 inmates in particular would have gone through, waiting to find out if they can be released. And having done the assessment, the court, looking at their responsibility as guardians of these persons, could not, in good conscience, release them, while still acknowledging that the correctional facilities in which they are housed are unacceptable to continue to house them. So we're looking, and of course the court would have pointed out several points of recommendation, and pointed several times as well to the Mental Health Offenders Committee report, which had extensive recommendations in terms of how we should be handling
These
mentally ill
particular
inmates.
Yeah, and perhaps to put context, Jade, if it is that you are deemed unfit to plea, or if it is that you're found guilty, but you are not held, what's the language, help me out legally now, liable for your actions, so to speak, then the court can place you on supervision order. And what are some of the other orders that can be provided?
Well, the court can continue to remand you, which is a normal order.
Which is under the court's pleasure, that one.
Right, yes. Well, now, once the court has assessed your case, you will be automatically moved from under the Governor General's pleasure. But the court can remand, the court can make recommendations for you to be released into the care and custody of your family members, or into the care and custody of a fit facility if there is one that is available.
But before, we had the provision around the Governor General's, but
Yes.
that particular court case said, no, we have separation of powers. There's no way a member of the executive branch should be involved in remanding, depriving people of their liberty.
Yes.
But unfortunately, from what I gather, Jade, and you made the point, to move from Governor General's pleasure to court's pleasure, it's not automatic. Because from what I gather here, the language suggests that you have to be assessed. That's what you indicated first.
Yes, you must be assessed, right.
And to put in context for the listeners, there is a special project being funded by the Ministry of Justice that is seeing the Legal Aid Council assisting with having people be released.
Yes.
And that is to be lauded. The challenge I'm having, though, is that one would think that these matters, these persons who were remanded under the Governor General's pleasure, their matters would be assessed wholesale. Because what the judgment suggests, and Jade, you can correct me, it suggests that the applicants filed the notices of application for the review to be done, rather than the state seeing it as an obligation to actually do the review.
Right. It was the applicant, and I think, again, it goes back to how the provision was previously written, where it was at the Governor General's pleasure.
Challenging, though.
It is.
I do, because, again, I want to also put in context. 6 of 14. 6 of 14. I don't know, before we had some 300, based on reports, from Indicom and the mental inquiry report, some 300 thereabout inmates mentally ill who were incarcerated. I don't know how many, I have to be doing research, how many the Legal Aid Council secured release for. I know a few years ago JFJ would have supported, through a partnership with Stand Up for Jamaica, would have supported, I believe, about 10 to 15 being released.
Yes.
The question is, how many remain? And again, what is the action for these individuals to be released? I know some people are listening and say, but if people are mentally ill, what do you expect the state to do with them? And our response to questions like those, the state has an obligation to ensure that if it is someone is deemed mentally ill based on psychiatric reports and so on, then the government has an obligation to ensure that a forensic psychiatric facility is established, and if the persons are at risk of being, harm to themselves and others, then they will be transitioned to that psychiatric facility.
Yes.
And that is the ask, and it's a reasonable ask because the state has an obligation to protect all of us.
Yes.
So we take the break,
Yeah.
and then we pick up on that point on what else is expected of the state.
The 22nd staging of the Port Royal Seafood Festival is going to be epic on Sunday, October 20, from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Holiday Snacks Play Zone, Excelsior Bingo, boat tour and seafood galore, evening turn up with Niger Boy, Capleton and the Sales and more. Big thanks, Tropical Rhythms, TEV, Hartros NSTA, Airports Authority of Jamaica, New Pack, Aspen and Swift Car Rentals, Gasper and Singer, Home Time Entertainment, tickets on Spur Open or at the gate, $2,000 before 5 p.m., $2,500 after. Children under 12 free. See you at Port Royal.
Are you ready to turn your sales and marketing skills into high earnings? Nationwide 90FM is searching for business development executives to build lasting client relationships. If you have experience across all stages of the sales cycle and possess strong communication, negotiation, and time management skills with a proven sales track record, this opportunity is perfect for you. Join our team and work with the top corporate brands, media agencies, and of course, our on-air personalities. Enjoy networking opportunities, professional growth, and competitive commissions. Ready to take the next step? Send your resume to hr@nationwidenewsnetwork.com today.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Justice. We have been discussing two topics today. We're on the second topic right now. We're talking about incarceration of mentally ill persons. And we're looking at the decision that came out of the Supreme Court just the other day regarding 6 inmates who have been continue to be remanded. And I wanted to make a point before the break, as you were speaking to the state's obligation to have that forensic psychiatric facility, that the state has the powers under the Mental Health Act, as the court pointed out, to do these things, and that in failing to do so, they are failing in their obligation to protect these persons.
You know what is sad, Jade? And I was speaking to some students of mine recently. And I think generally we do it a lot as citizens. But the state now have no money. But, what do you expect the state to do? You know, we can be reasonable in our expectations of the state's obligations. But we should never excuse the state when there is inaction. The moment we do that, not only do we deprive others of their liberty, some basic constitutional rights, but we are falling down as citizens with a principle called vertical accountability, which is accountability from us. So yes, be reasonable. But at the same time, a society that does not provide for its most vulnerable is a failing society. And in the report, the judgment rather, and people can read it, is a very short one.
Yes, it's
this is
very
not
short.
just Mikkel's version of short with the 100-page documents. This is actually a short document. It's 10 pages?
Yes,
yeah?
barely.
And one of the recommendation at paragraph 36(1), and the court says it, and it makes reference back to the Mental Health Inquiry Committee report, that there is the establishment of penal psychiatric institutions to care for inmates with severe mental illnesses.
You know, I wanted to add to that because I went back and looked at their report. And the committee would have recommended as well that in the interim, while we're trying to decide on how this forensic psychiatric facility would be for penal persons, we need to reopen Bellevue for that purpose. that it would have been repurposed and they would want to see reconstituted for that original purpose, as the legislation that supports the facility actually designates it for that purpose, and that legislation has not been changed.
And while Bellevue is doing well in some instances, in this respect,
there was a policy change that would have prevented further support from Bellevue in situations with persons like this who are in conflict with the law.
And there was another recommendation from the courts, again taking it from the Mental Inquiry Report, Jade listeners, that there should be enhanced cooperation between the Ministry of Health, National Security, and other state agencies. And then the third one, I know you know much more about this particular one, the community-based program to divert. If you could just explain what that one is.
Okay, so they had a general penal diversion program that they were using before, where persons would, once it is that you are unable to participate in your court proceedings, then they would look through the factors, seriousness of the offense, the effect on others, so on and so forth, and make an assessment and then come up with a diversion program for you. So you, instead of going through the court system as normal, you would essentially be removed out of the court system and put into rehabilitative programs. And that's similar to what we have in our Child Diversion Act. But this one would have been specifically diversion by the court for adult persons who are incapable of continuing in the court matters.
Thanks, Jade. And, you know, as you may mention, I know the police, perhaps, let me not speak to the specifics, but there was a case recently, I believe over the weekend, where the police had to kill, a fatal shot was done.
So they had to use deadly force.
Deadly force, thank you so much. For someone who is mentally ill, because the person was at risk to other individuals, and then when the police came on scene, throwing stones and so on. So without speaking to the specifics, I know police officers have been calling for, one, increased training how to engage with mentally ill persons within the communities, on the streets. When they're called in for a response, that it shouldn't just be the police officers responding. There should also be community-based support in terms of who turns up to respond, somebody who is actually trained in this particular area. And then thirdly, to actually have on their person less lethal weapons to appropriately respond. So I'm not saying in this situation it wasn't warranted, because I'm not speaking to the specifics of the case, but where there are circumstances, we have to ensure that the police they have the capacity to respond in a humane manner.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And people, let me give you one hint. We're discussing the matter of mentally ill persons who are incarcerated. The second case is not a Ghana Barnett that happened in 1992, which was before JFJ even started. It was in 1999, and it touches on the issue of mentally ill persons. That's the hint that I'm giving you. And I'm going to take $500 credit off it because I had to give the hint. Yes? It's like when you get an open exam, you have to mark with a little bit more, what you call it now, Jade?
Yes, I get it. Scrutiny.
Scrutiny.
Yeah, you have to be less lenient.
Yes, right? So I take off $500 off that, because even news commentators saying the questions are heavy today. So we take $500 credit off that. There was something else in the news, and Jade, if you would just allow me a minute.
Please.
The issue of the media coming under attack. I won't speak to any specific situation, but I'll just speak very broadly to say that the media is what we call the fourth pillar of democracy, the fourth branch of government, the fourth estate, different terminologies, because the media has such awesome role to play in informing citizens, holding different state and non-state actors to account, investigative journalism where you shed light on issues to ensure that things that we were unaware of, they're brought to the public space. So the role of the media is great. And we're now approaching what we commonly refer to as the silly season. So you have members across both political parties that have made utterances, that have placed media practitioners' images and videos that have led to disparaging comments against individuals, media houses being accused of putting their own lives at risk for political reasons. I can't even imagine how someone could think that that could be done. It's unfortunate. We must publicly condemn it because it cannot be open season on media practitioners and journalists as they go about their business and do what is expected of them. We may be putting people's lives at risk when we behave in such disgraceful manner. To the media practitioners, I say though, with your role comes awesome responsibility, and there must be fair reporting on your part. And I've seen comments by some media practitioners that have played into some of the negative commentary that have been made against civil society organizations. So you have a role to play to do better as well. So we must lead with objectivity. And even if there are biases, when it comes to doing your work, it has no place there. But I repeat to the political parties, stop it. Stop it. It's not a good look. All right, so to our trivia questions. No Marigold, Noel Chambers, that was 2020. It was when we were all shocked by that. So it seemed like I have to give the answer.
Hold on, it wasn't.
Somebody got it?
I was wondering.
No, I said.
Is this the full chat?
Yes. We can go on our YouTube and see. And nothing, Vanessa, in the WhatsApp? No. Man, this looks like when I give one exam question at UCC and the students are upset with me. Okay. So let me say, news commentator, you got the first one correct. What was that one again? I tell you,
the second one.
It was the second one she got?
Yes.
Okay.
So the second one was JFJ's first radio show and the station that it was on. So can you give us the answer, Mikkel?
That was Community Lawyer on Roots FM,
yes.
right?
So
and by the way, Roots FM had live streaming at that time. Let me just say.
Wow.
They did.
Innovative.
Right? And the show was hosted by the attorneys. So you would have seen my face if this was back in the day. So it was hosted by the attorneys.
Training.
But that's not the point. I would wish not to be here sometimes. Right? So that was back in the day. We've been at this. So, my mantra with JFJ, back to basic with a lot of the things. And there's nothing new. Sometimes you think of some ideas and it's been there already. So community lawyer. In August, somebody news commentator. No, me cannot.
I told you that she got it.
I cannot give it to her.
I told you that she got it.
But anyway, $500 come off the credit. So the second case, no, but she didn't get the full thing.
No,
what was the impact of
the rest?
Where?
She put look.
Look how me there try get news commentator credit cut down.
News commentator put it.
So the second case that we supported is the Michael Gale case, 26-year-old mentally ill man. Just as though you have the joint task force out between JDF soldiers and police officers. It was the same thing in August 1999. Michael was beaten to death, and the bravery of his mother, Jenny Cameron, with JFJ's support, took the issue all the way to the Inter-American Commission of Human Rights, the IACHR. And the commission asked the government to extend an apology. The family was awarded, I think, $2.6 million it was.
Yes.
And from that matter, and by the way, when the case was won at IACHR, advocacy no stop. Advocacy ramp up now, or amp up, whichever one is the correct terminology. And that was how you influenced Indicom in 2010 being formed. And as I say that, let's extend congratulations to Terrence Williams, who was appointed King's Counsel.
Yes,
right?
that was great.
First commissioner, 2010 to 2020, Tashwa. So, yeah.
Okay, so for ordinary trivia, the answer was the Occupational Safety and Health Act. That is the legislation that was passed in 2017, I believe, and is still not in place today. So it's sitting
over 2 decades.
Yes, waiting to be implemented. So we nobody got that one, unfortunately, but news commentator, of course, you'll be reached out to with your prize for the 2 special trivia questions we did today.
And next week we'll clarify on the anti-discrimination piece, the law itself.
For sure. So thank you so much for joining us.
All right, my name is Mikkel Jackson.
And I'm Jade Williams.
Have a good day.
Jamaicans, by justice, the people's champion. Justice, justice for all. Justice under the law. Justice, Jamaica demand. Right to life, right to liberty. Out of many we are one in a Jamaica. Make it a better place for the boys and girls. Created equal by the creator. For equal rights and opportunities. No to unlawful detention and police brutalization. Class, gender, race or religion. We not tolerate discrimination.
To join the fight against injustice, contact us at 755-4524 or JamaicансForJustice.org.
The people's champion.
JP said baby's banana chips. 20% more chips in the banana left on ground. The time by JP said Mare's banana chips is
201.
Dive into a holistic healing symphony with Dr.